All right, so it's conference championship weekend in college football, easily one of the most important weekends in any college football season. And in this season particularly, it is crazy. There is a lot at stake this weekend. Every single one of these Power 5 championship games have playoff implications embedded into them. And all these games, except for maybe one, are very competitive and interesting matchups where it can honestly go either way. But today I'm going to be giving y'all my previews and predictions for all the Power 5 championship games. I may do some shorts or a TikTok talking about the Group of 5 championship games because there are some really interesting ones that, while I may not want to talk about them for an extended period of time, they are very interesting in and of themselves. And if you didn't know, my TikTok, I'm gonna put my TikTok in my hands. I'm gonna hold it because, you know, it's one of my babies. But yeah, why not follow my TikTok? I'm trying to be more consistent with that type of content, you know, the shorter form content, because maybe that's how I get some more fans. I love y'all, but I would really like some more. It will make me feel a little bit better. But anyway, we're going to go basically in chronological order. So I'm going to start off with the first championship game that is happening on Friday, I'm pretty sure, between number 5 Oregon and number 3 Washington. This game is going to be really good. And this is one of those games where it's like, I'm happy it's happening. It's one of the first games to happen because this game is going to dictate a lot. If Washington wins, they're pretty much in. If Oregon wins, in my opinion, they're in for the most part. Because I personally believe, let's say Oregon wins and let's say Alabama wins, if we're comparing resumes, if we're really comparing resumes, Alabama has a better resume than Oregon. If we're comparing Oregon to Texas, Texas has a better resume than Oregon. That doesn't put into account who I think is a better team. We're going off resumes because that's what matters. It matters what you've done, not what you could possibly do. But enough talk about that, because talking about the playoff and this playoff committee doesn't make sense sometimes. But let's get into this game. And this is a rematch. These two teams played earlier in the season, and it was an amazing, spectacular game that I hoped would get a rematch. And now it's here. And I'm happy that I'll actually be able to watch this game. Unlike last time, because I had a game that same Saturday. It was a road trip too, so it was terrible. So I didn't get to watch it in real time. But it was a classic. And I expect another one here today. Not today, on Friday. But I think it will have a different outcome. I know Oregon is favored, which is kind of crazy to me because I know Oregon is riding hot. They've really been hot all year ever since that Washington game. But it's like, that kind of feels disrespectful to Washington to kind of discredit everything they've done, be undefeated, beat this team already. But it's hard to beat a team twice, especially a really good football team like Washington. And I also think mental fatigue can come into play for Washington. When you're trying to keep up a perfect season, that's hard because you really can't mess up. And now you're in another do-or-die game. These last few games for Washington, while I'm not going to say they look bad, they've been in fights. Washington State, Oregon State, those were fights for them. And yes, it's okay to be in fights and contests against those teams because those are two really good teams, but Oregon's riding really high. And I don't think Oregon's a better team. I just think Oregon will finally get theirs. You know, these two teams are neck and neck in my opinion. Now, when it comes to a game like this, the key to the game will be turnovers and who can force the miscues, because these are two very, very high-powered offenses. Like, they're going to score points. So if you're the opposing offense, you're going to have to damn near score every time you get the ball, which means you can't turn the ball over. Whichever team will be able to force the more turnovers will win this game, which is kind of ironic to say because in the first game, Oregon forced more turnovers and Washington still won, but Oregon also missed a kick before half. Washington pulled out all the stops, the trick plays and everything. I expect Oregon to pull out everything because they're playing for their season. And I think if they're able to force the same turnovers, they will be able to capitalize off them better, and that will help them win this game. And even though I'm not the biggest Bo Nix fan or believer, I honestly am of the opinion I kind of think Michael Penix is a better quarterback. But if Bo Nix can keep this level of play up, because he is playing out of this world when it comes to completion percentage and lack of turnovers, they're going to be a problem. But I think this game it should be a thriller. I really want it to be, but I do see Oregon coming out on top. I think their defense will force just enough turnovers to tilt this game in Oregon's favor. But either way, wouldn't be surprised. All right, next up we have the Big 12 championship game. Number 18 Oklahoma State versus number 7 Texas. One is kind of crazy to me that Texas is this low, because I saw a stat that no team under like 7 has ever made the playoff, and both Texas and Alabama are 7 and 8, which doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't, but hey, I'm not on the playoff committee. I ain't going to waste my time being mad at them. But I got Texas in a close game. Texas is just a better team, and I feel like this is their year. And I think they'll most definitely love the opportunity to flick off the Big 12 in the biggest way by winning this game. Like last week, right before that Texas Tech game, the Big 12 commissioner openly said he was rooting for Texas Tech.
Coach, I'm not going to put any pressure on you, but I'm going to be in Austin for Thanksgiving, okay? And you better take care of business like you did right here in Lubbock last year, okay?
And they went out there and won like 50-7 against not a bad Texas Tech team. Actually, a Texas Tech team that Oregon only beat by 3 points in Lubbock, I'm pretty sure. And it was also home for Texas, but that's still something to say. But I do think they'll relish in the opportunity to win the Big 12 on their way out. I honestly think this game comes down to one thing in particular. Texas's run defense versus Oliver Gordon. Oliver Gordon is one of the more surprising players in college football because he kind of came out of nowhere, but he averages 131 rushing yards on the ground. He is this team's offense. When he plays well, they win football games. And Texas has one of the best rush defenses in the nation, only allowing around 86 yards a game. If they stop Oliver Gordon, Texas wins this game. If Oliver Gordon can go out there and have over 100 yards, 120 yards, Oklahoma State will have a chance. Now, I do have some questions about Texas because I just wonder how healthy they are. Quint Ewers, ever since he came back from the injury, hasn't looked like the Quint Ewers of before. So my question is, how good will he look this game? Will he finally be back to the way he used to look? Because even though they've been winning games, he hasn't really looked the best. The numbers aren't eye-popping, and the numbers honestly have never been, but they just don't look as good as they used to. I feel like you can kind of tell he's trying to get back into the groove of things, and Oklahoma State's a good football team, so you're going to need him to play a good game. And also, how healthy is Xavier Worthy? Last game against Texas Tech, he got hurt. He did come back into the game, but he ended up having to leave again, and he's your best offensive weapon. He's Texas' best offensive weapon. You need him healthy, not only for this week, for next week. But if we're just focusing off this week, Oklahoma State's a really good team. You need to be healthy. Even though I feel like your defense is going to come to play and they're going to stop Oliver Gordon, you need to score points. And you're going to need Xavier Worthy to be healthy and Quint Ewers to just look better than he has been recently. Honestly, just for them to have a chance the rest of the way out. If they make it to the playoff, if they don't, I just need Quint Ewers to look better. But I do have Texas winning a somewhat close game. This is a game that I can see being like tied up or close at halftime, but Texas just pulling away in the second half. And also, this is not your usual Texas team. All year, they've shown their ability to not fold, not give up leads, to not stop fighting. These past few years, we've seen Texas just quit and just give up. This is not what Texas does anymore. This is not what they've done this entire year. Even in their loss to Oklahoma, they just got beat. They didn't quit. They didn't lose the game. They just got beat. It happens. But Texas, I think it's just their year, and it's their time. If it's any year for Texas to win a conference championship, it's this year. Even though Texas does have a really good recruiting class coming in, and Steve Sarkisian has been able to recruit at a high level, going to the SEC is going to be hard. It'll be nice to win this one on your way out. At least give yourself something to work with, especially if you're Sark. So I have Texas winning in a pretty close game. All right, next is easily the biggest game of the weekend. This is going to be the biggest and best game. A lot's riding on this game. It's number 1 Georgia versus number 8 Alabama in the SEC championship game. And this is the biggest toss-up. Like, even on my thing right now, I normally have the team that I think will win in bold. I have neither team in bold, but I know who I'm going to pick to win. I'm going to pick Georgia. Just because I trust Georgia more at this point, I feel like this has to be the year that they finally beat Alabama in an SEC championship game. They can't seem to beat Alabama here. And honestly, if you're Georgia, this is not the year you can afford to lose to Alabama. because depending on how you lose this game and depending on what else happens, there is honestly a possibility where you're left out of the playoff. It is that type of year. It is that competitive. Conference championships matter this year. But let's get into the game and not talk about all the other things. The reason I picked Georgia is, one, even though their defense isn't historic, this is still a really, really good defensive team. And then if you look at their offense, Carson Beck is a lot better than I thought he'll be. He is exactly what you want a game manager to be. He's going to go out there and throw for around 250 yards, and he doesn't really turn the ball over. He facilitates. He gets it to his weapons. And Brock Bowers is healthy. A dude, when he went down, I didn't think he was going to come back, and I thought even if he did come back, how good will he look? Yeah, he hasn't really missed a beat. And they're finally got some weapons on the outside. Lad McConkey, that white boy's cold. He is. And I trust Carson Beck. Now for the Alabama side of things, I think this will be a close game. But for Alabama to win this game, it's all on the shoulders of Jalen Milroe. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but if you look at Georgia's games this year, and the games where they've been tested or it's been close, it's been when a quarterback can use their legs. And even dating back to last year, when you look at Ohio State when they play C.J. Stroud, C.J. Stroud killed them because he used his legs. And he not only did he use his legs to run, he used his legs to throw the ball, get out of pressure, buy time. Jalen Milroe is going to have to do that. After the game against Auburn, Jalen Milroe said, You have a chance this week to earn it. You have a chance this week to earn it, to at least be able to be there. Will you probably win it off this week? No. But prove it to me, because you need to go out there and really, you need to throw for about over 200, and you need to run for damn near 100 yards. You have to be this offense. You have to go out there and outplay Carson Beck by a lot and do not make mistakes. Georgia forces mistakes. If you look at I think the closest game Georgia really had this year, in the game where I really thought they probably could have lost, is against Missouri. And Missouri was able to run the ball on them. Brady Cook is the Missouri quarterback's name. Even though he didn't have the crazy rush yards, his legs were very effective in that game. The problem was he turned the ball over. And honestly, I think Jalen Milroe is going to turn the ball over at least once. I wouldn't be surprised. But for Alabama to win, he can't turn the ball over, and he has to use his legs as effectively as possible. And personally, I just trust this Georgia team because they know who they are. They've known who they were this entire year, and they know what they got to do. Alabama, it's funny how this is a down year for Alabama, but they're still 11-1 with a chance to play for a national championship. And honestly, going into this game, I was really leaning towards Alabama, but I just have to go with Georgia. They have won, and they have continued to win all year, no matter what. Games where I thought it would be a scare. Ole Miss, I thought would be a scare. Blew them out. Missouri, I thought they would be a scare. They won convincingly over a really, really good Missouri team. Tennessee, I thought could do it. Tennessee wasn't even close. And these are teams that played Alabama close. I think Georgia is just built different. As a program right now, Georgia is a better program than Alabama right now. Please don't take what I said out of context. Right now, they are a better program. That's evident over the fact they're about to be on the verge, if they can do it right, a three-peat. They're the better program right now. That's not a bad thing to say. That's not disrespectful to Nick Saban or Alabama. They're just they're the current standard right now. And I'm not taking no shots at Alabama, because Alabama will forever and always be the standard of greatness. But if we're looking as of right now, in the past 2 to 3 years, it's been Georgia. And I believe, and they know this too, they know they have yet to beat Alabama in this SEC championship game. This matters to them. Kirby's going to get these boys ready, and I think Georgia wins this game in a nail-biter, in a close one, in what should be a classic. I have no doubt in my mind that Nick Saban is going to find a way to have this team in the game. Jalen Milroe is going to have to decide if he really is a Heisman, if he's really worthy of that Heisman that he was talking about. Because he was talking, and he deserved it. That pass he threw was amazing. Like, honestly, his arm talent is really impressive. I don't know if he'll ever make it to the league or be an NFL quarterback, but he's going to be a fun college quarterback. Jalen Milroe is fun to watch. But I picked Georgia. Now, when I was talking in the intro, talking about there's only one game that I don't think will be that competitive or interesting, and it's Number 2, Michigan playing number 16, Iowa. And it's going to look a type of way that I'm not going to talk about this game for that long because I'm an Ohio State fan. I have so much against Michigan. I really don't. But it's like there's really nothing to talk about because I think Michigan's going to win this game and win this game pretty handily. Now, will it be close at first? Yes, because Iowa's defense is really good. I think Iowa's defense is even better than we give it credit for because the numbers don't pop out at you. Because at the end of the day, their numbers probably aren't as good as they should be because that offense is so putrid, so bad, so terrible. Like, that's why I don't think this will be a game. If Iowa even had a average to slightly above average offense, I would be very excited about this game. But their offense is just bad, and Michigan's defense is really good. It's like a very movable object meeting a very strong person. I don't know what we expect to happen. Like, Iowa's best case scenario for this game is they hold Michigan to under 24 points and they score a touchdown on both special teams and defense. I feel like they're probably going to end up doing one of those because that's what Iowa does, but probably not both because Michigan is a really, really good team. And I know I said after that Ohio State-Michigan game, like in my preview, I said whoever won that team should be the number 1 seed. I understand why Michigan isn't the number 1 team in the country. I honestly do. Their resume, even with that Ohio State win, doesn't stack up to Georgia's at all. But I still feel like they're one of the 2 best teams in the country, and you could say they're the best team. And Iowa is Iowa. And I'm so happy that this is the last time the Big Ten is doing this conference thing. I'm glad they're just going to the best 2 teams because we're never going to have to see this again. We're never going to have this problem again. Like, that's been the problem with the Big Ten the last few years. You walk to the Big Ten championship game and you're like, Northwestern, Iowa, Purdue, what are they doing here? It's not like I don't want to see those teams be good. It's like they're not good enough to be in a conference championship game. They just benefit from being in the sucky division. So, yeah, I probably talked about that game longer than I thought I would, but, hey, I'm happy this is the last one of these things. But, yeah, Michigan by 20. They gonna come out there. I don't think with something to prove. They just gonna handle business because this is not their goal. They don't care about Big Ten championships anymore. They want the real thing. I think they're gonna handle their business, handle it soundly, so they can rest up and plan about who they gonna play in that college football playoff. Because I think Michigan's a lock. They're the only team I think is a lock because they're the only one that I'm 100% sure is gonna win their game. That's the only one. Next, we have a very, very interesting game, and a game that I teetered back and forth on for the longest. That's number 14 Louisville versus number 4 Florida State in the ACC championship game. This game will be a lot closer than people think. I think the line of this game is Florida State by 2, and that's very fair. But I've also seen other places that's like 8. No. Florida State, while Florida State is a top 4 team, I think they deserve to be a top 4 team, I do not think they're one of the 4 best teams in the country. But they do deserve to be in the top 4 because, yes, they've won all their games. They've handled business. I do not think you should be critiqued on, you may not be better than these other teams when, hey, those teams lost a game. We've won every game we played in. That type of shit matters, and they've handled business. But I don't think they're one of the top 4 teams. I think they benefit from that week 1 game where they bludgeoned LSU, and I feel like I have yet to see that Florida State team since then. And also the preseason hype. Everybody wanted this team to be good. Everybody thought they will be good, and they're good. I just don't think they're as good as we think, and it doesn't help that they lost their head honcho. They lost. I love saying that. I say that a lot, but they lost Jordan Travis. If Jordan Travis was playing, I think they win this game, but they don't have their quarterback. They don't have the engine of their offense. And while I think this team is still a good team, Louisville's not a bad team. They're not a bad team. And Florida State's not the best team against the run. And when you're playing Louisville, you want to be able to stop the run because Jordan, I don't know how to say his first name, but he is a really, really good running back. And they're going to feed him, and they're going to run it through him. And also, his backup's pretty good, too. I completely forget his name, but he has like 600, 500 yards in the season. They want to run the football. And also, if we're just comparing quarterbacks, Jake Plummer has played a lot more snaps. I trust him more in this type of game. This game is going to be, I don't think it'll be over 30. I think it'll be like 24-28 because these 2 teams are probably going to struggle to score because Florida State does have a pretty good defense, and Florida State's quarterback is just really not that good. And I don't think he's not a good quarterback. He just hasn't played a lot. He wasn't expecting to play this year. You will now have to play the remainder of the season because your starting quarterback like the big bro in your room leg snapped in a disgusting way, and now you're playing. And in these 2 games that I've seen him play, he hasn't looked that good. He's winnable. You can win with him, but he has yet to play a team like Louisville. Florida is not a bad team, and he looked all right. Same could be said for that one team they played. I don't know. It was a purple team, something Texas, something Florida, Texas Christian, or something like that. I trust Louisville in this game, and I think Florida State not having Jordan Travis will finally hurt them. And the fact that they play down to they play down to the level of their competition. That's what I've noticed they've done this season. I feel like they will in this game, but they won't be able to come over the hump because they don't have Jordan Travis. So I have Louisville winning this game and Louisville winning the ACC. So yeah, those are all my conference championship predictions. I'm not confident in all of them because I think we have a lot of good matchups with a lot of evenly matched teams that could go either way. So in the comments below, let me know what you think, who you think will win, what you think the final playoff top 4 will be. I want to do a video about it before conference championship weekend, but I think it'll be more appropriate for me to do one next week, kind of recapping what happened, because I think there's going to be something that happens that we don't expect. There's going to be some surprising result. I don't think it's going to be Iowa being Michigan, but I think it could be very similar to when in 2014, the first iteration of the playoff, where Ohio State was like number 7. They were going into the Big Ten championship game with their 3rd-string quarterback against Wisconsin, favored by a little bit, and they went in there and they destroyed Wisconsin. I remember watching that at my uncle's crib, like, Devin Smith got 4 touchdowns on like 3 catches. The math doesn't make sense, but I feel like we're gonna have some type of result like that. That's gonna make us question everything and give us more questions than answers, and I love that. That's gonna be so fun to talk about. But please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I love y'all. Thank y'all for the views. Last video is still doing pretty well. Please go check it out. It's just me venting. Don't take. There's a lot of people trying to pick at and poke at what I'm saying. Bro, I was just venting. That's not how I really thought about the game. Some of it is how I really thought, but the other parts of it is literally I got done with the game and said, I looked at my dad and said, I'm about to record this video. And I did. So yeah, remember, like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. I love y'all. Peace.